We've had some chance to watch the HD quality broadcasts out there since we switched over a few weeks ago. And what if people are not really noticing a change in their broadcast quality out there in the field?
We get that. We get that question fairly often, and I'm going to go through that a little bit here. To get HD, you know, when somebody's saying, geez, it doesn't look as like HD as it does in my house, okay? One thing, we do have the broadcast quality not quite as high as a broadcast television studio or an NBC or an ABC, simply because of cost. You're sending out more bits, so you need more bandwidth, and that costs more money. But we do an appropriate high definition for the type of shows that we're broadcasting. And the Air National Guard made a significant investment to go to high definition, which is not just better quality, but you've got the newer format, the 16:9 format, and that's what, you know, you can't get a standard 4:3 or cathode ray tube television anymore.
Right.
So Air National Guard saw that, made the investment, and that's the way broadcast television is going. But to get to your question, why the quality doesn't seem like HD? Well, there's in order to get HD all the way through to your display, you have to start with high definition cameras, high definition studio switching gears and graphics generators and routers and all that. And this is the investment the Air National Guard just recently made. And then you have to go through a high definition satellite transport system, which is also Air National Guard's made that investment, and we've done that. You have to have a high definition receiver, and then you have to have a high definition display and use the right wiring in between. And what we're finding, and we knew this, but we knew that each base is going to have its own challenges, is that we've got the high definition receiver, but then we've got a standard definition distribution system. Look to maybe show you that take a field trip over to the other set here.
Ray's going to get set up over on our high-tech whiteboard to try to explain what's going on and why that HD signal isn't being delivered to viewers in full HD.
All right, so we cut on over here?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we got our satellite receiver, or satellite antenna here, and we're heading down to the 9865. What we find is that many bases have all their satellite receivers grouped together, and maybe in what we would call a head-end configuration. Now this, and then they would take all the outputs of these various satellite receivers and distribute them through a base cable system. So I'm calling that a base cable distribution system. So it turns out that base cable distribution system would also have to be HD. And all the wiring generally will support an HD signal, but the classroom displays would also have to have a high definition display. So a lot of people have gone out and made the investment and bought a high definition display, but the base cable distribution system, which could run, I guess in some cases, several miles, and you have amplifiers and distribution gear all in that path, all that has to be updated to high definition. Now that's a base by base consideration, you know, base by base expenditure in order to go ahead and do that. Then you also say, gee, I always watch the Warrior Network on channel 24 or 36 or something like that. Well, those channel numbers are all set by the base cable distribution system. And so you got to kind of know how your signal is getting to you. And again, the help desk is able to help you work through that if this is unfamiliar to you. The more you know about it, if you're troubleshooting a ticket and you can explain to the help desk person that's assisting you, then that makes for a quicker resolution to a problem or an action plan. So that typically is why you would see some losses between high definition and your display. So if you wanted to get to probably the purest play right now, or the purest signal, would be the ideal setup would be for your HD display to be in your classroom along with the 9865 satellite receiver, and usually the AT products box, which is used for student interaction. And this would be a typical wiring diagram for that. So you bring your coax cable from the satellite from the satellite antenna to the 9865, and you'll want to go left and right audio to a Y cable because this is a mono, not a stereo box, unfortunately. And you bring that to this audio in and then audio out to your display, and I'm assuming that you're not using a speaker system, that you're just using the speakers in the display. And then you want to run component cables. And this is an example of component cables, and we'll do another shot of a PowerPoint slide that will show these. But these cables will, it's a gang of 3 with the RCA connectors, and you run those from the back of the 9865 to the high definition display. So that's the connection. Now, a lot of people will say, gee, I'd like to use an HDMI cable because I know I get audio there. The trouble is if you were to use, instead of component cable, you were to use an HDMI cable, which admittedly is a very convenient cable to use, is that you get an audio path not going through your AT products box, and that will lead to echo in the whole broadcast, and it kind of mess up the classroom experience. They'll end up trying to cut you out of the class because your echo will go across the network. And I think we got the slide up now. It shows the back end of the 9865. And that shows the where these 3 cables would go. Sometimes they call them the, I forget what the exact terms of them are, but it's sometimes an RGB or something like that. And you can also see the left and right outputs of them. And that's the back plane of the 9865. So that will guarantee you the best signal, the best display that you can get. I realize that that's not necessarily typical of the bases, but that's how you get high definition display. So until the bases make their investment in distribution, into high definition distribution system, then you won't necessarily be getting the best possible signal that you can in your classroom. So that's it. We could field questions on that.
Right. Thank you, Ray. I think Ray made a pretty good diagram explanation there. And speaking of questions, if any of you out there still have questions for us, please email us at angtec.tv@ang.af.mil. And we're standing by for any emails that you may have. And we'll just be broadcasting the signal for just a few more minutes. So get those questions in there quickly. In the meantime, I want to advertise our upcoming broadcast for the First Sergeants, and that's going to be taking place next Thursday and Friday. We're very excited to have Chief Kennedy leading that broadcast. He's no stranger to our studio. They've broadcast the First Sergeants information seminars before, and they're very popular. We tend to re-air them several times. So if you don't catch the live broadcast on Thursday and Friday next week, please tune in at any of the other opportunities to watch that broadcast. It's a very popular one. And we also have some other broadcasts coming up, and just be on the lookout for those. We send out a Warrior Network broadcast schedule, as well as on our visual display there, our digital signage. You can see across the bottom where they kind of scroll through and tell us what the upcoming broadcasts are. And of course, we have our wonderful satellite EPME program that night school every night, 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday.
Right, and we have help desk support for that as throughout the broadcast there. We've got a few more agents at the beginning of the broadcast available because that's usually when the problems come in, and we try to take care of anybody that has a problem through that.
Sounds good. I don't think we're getting any questions in here.
Okay.
We must have done a good job
I guess
explaining
so.
the transition over to a receiver only, and as well as why the HD signal is not as HD as you have in your home.
All right.
All right. Well, I think this was another good broadcast. Thank you, Ray, for coming into our studio.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to come to the Air National Guard. We certainly appreciate y'all's business and confidence in us, and we will do everything we can to support the network.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.